Let's discuss why Stu Macher needs to return in Scream 7.
Certain rules. Push the laws and you end up dead.
This is the moment when the supposedly dead killer comes back to life.
Not in my movie.
Surprise, Sydney.
He's gone mad.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
A very simple formula.
You want to play psycho killer?
Everybody's a suspect.
No, please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel.
I'll be right back.
Okay, I think it's gonna go something like this.
I'm Pamela, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to discuss why Stu Macher needs to return in Scream 7. If you're familiar with my channel, then you know that I am a huge Stu believer. I believe Stu Macher has been alive for all these years. I think he's been in hiding, and I do think that this has been the plan all along for them to have him return in Scream 7. I think there are a ton of clues in Scream 5 and Scream 6 that point towards this. I have so many videos on this on my channel. If you're new here, please check them out. There's a lot of good Stu clues in there. I have a Stu Macher playlist with almost 50 videos in it, which I will link for you if you want to check them out. But today we're not really going to discuss the clues, but rather just why he should return in Scream 7. First and foremost, Scream is a commentary on other horror franchises. Scream kind of pokes fun at like the common horror tropes that are out there in other movies. And one of those tropes is the killer returning. A killer who always comes back, who never dies. You know, we have the Friday franchise, Jason Voorhees always comes back, Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy always comes back, Michael Myers always comes back. And the Scream franchise has never done that. They've never brought back a past killer. Matthew Lillard has even said himself in an interview from about 2 years ago that this is what happens in these horror franchises. The killer always comes back.
Whenever he comes back somewhere in the future, because that's what happens in horror movies all the time, they bring the killers back.
And Amber Freeman in Scream 5 even says herself, that's the problem with the stab movies. No bad guy to keep coming back.
You know what the biggest problem with the stab movies is? There's no Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees. No bad guy to keep coming back.
And I do think that Amber Freeman was a part of Stu's cult. If you're not familiar with all of the cult clues for Stu Macher, please check out some of my past videos. But this is just something that has never been done in the Scream franchise, and what better time to bring back a past killer than the 7th movie? We are on the 7th movie of this franchise. I think now's the perfect time, especially with the return of Neve Campbell, Sidney Prescott. I think it just makes sense to have her and Stu battle it out at least one more time. And Randy Meeks does say in Scream 3 that it always goes back to the original in trilogies. And we can consider these new Scream movies 5, 6, and 7 to be its own trilogy. And like I said, I do think that there were a lot of Stu clues in Scream 5, so bringing him back in Scream 7 would be a perfect way to bring it back to the original movie of this new trilogy, Scream 5, but also the actual original with the first movie. Also, with Kevin Williamson on board for Scream 7, it would just be perfect to bring him back since Kevin Williamson created the character Stu Macher. And because he was originally going to return in Scream 3 before they scrapped that script. And now every Scream sequel is kind of a commentary on what is kind of popular in real life at the time. So with Scream 2 it was sequels, Scream 3 it was trilogies, Scream 4 it was remakes.
Working on less of a shriekwell and more of a screamake, because all there are now are remakes.
Scream 5 it was requels.
Oh my god, he's making a requel!
And honestly, I feel like Scream 6 didn't really do anything like that. I guess it was kind of just franchises in general.
We're in a franchise!
But now with Scream 7, it can kind of be the way movies today kind of go back to the original because people don't really come up with original ideas anymore, and movies kind of play on nostalgia these days. You know, we're getting like new sequels or remakes of older movies like Beetlejuice, for example. Just everything is getting rebooted. They're constantly pulling things from the past. So Scream 7 should do that by bringing back Stumacher, pulling things from the original movie. Now, I obviously have to bring up Matthew Lillard, who was just on the Drew Barrymore show, where he said that Stu is definitely alive. And he said that he would love to come back if it made sense for the story.
Listen, Stu is definitely alive. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, my character Stu is definitely alive. Right?
So could we see Stu come back in another?
I would love to.
I would love it. Look, if it made sense for the franchise, if Kevin liked it, then sure, obviously.
You would do it?
I'm very sweaty.
Now, I did just recently cover another interview with him where he said he's not in Scream 7, but if he was, he would lie directly to our face. Now, Matthew Lillard has been so vocal for many years now that he believes Stumacher is alive and will come back one day. And in the past year or so, he's kind of changed his tune, saying that he's not coming back, which I do think is because he is in fact going to return. So he can't just keep saying, I'm alive, I'm coming back. But of course, now he did just say that he's alive on the Drew Barrymore show. So I think he's just messing with us. He's saying both options. I'm alive, I would love to come back, and I'm not in Scream 7. But it is important to note that he says, if I was in 7, I would lie to your face until the day it came out. He's really just messing with us at this point. We're gonna have to wait and see. But I am confident that Stumacher will return. Like I said, I think they've been setting this up since Scream 5, tons of clues in 5 and 6. Filming has been delayed multiple times, I think to accommodate his schedule. And there's also constant script rewrites. And I think that's because they want to get things right. Bringing back Stumacher is a big deal. And they know that it's kind of a divisive topic amongst fans. They know that bringing him back will piss off a lot of people. So they need to make sure that they get this right and they don't just everything up. They need to make his return so good that even the non-believers will be like, all right, this is actually pretty cool. But I know there's a lot of people out there who say that bringing Stu back will ruin the franchise. And honestly, I just think that's a little bit dramatic. I understand if you don't want him to come back. I'm not saying that everyone has to think the way that I think, but to say that it'll ruin the franchise, I just don't think that's true. I think as long as it's done well, just like Matthew Lillard says, as long as it makes sense to the story, it can be good. And I do think there's a lot of ways to make it make sense, which I've outlined a bunch in my past videos. It's just like the people who don't want him to come back, do you really want more new random ghost faces who essentially have no connection to Sydney? I mean, we've had new ghost faces every single sequel. Don't you want to do something different and bring back a past killer? Which, like we've said, is constantly done in horror franchises, and Scream is a commentary on horror franchises. I just think it makes so much sense.
Come on! How meta can you get?
I mean, if I sit in that theater and watch Scream 7 and it's just another bunch of random ghost faces who don't even know Sydney at all, I'll be like, really? Again? Like, come on. How many times are we gonna do this? Where it's like random ghost faces who have no connection to her, or if it's another family member. I mean, do you really want to see another family member? We had Roman Bridger, and then the very next movie they did her cousin. I just think we can't have another family member. We cannot have another random person with no connection. So that really just leaves Stu. And to the people who do, for some reason, want to see more random ghost faces, that's where Stu's cult comes in. His cult members can be some random people that we don't know being led by Stu, and that way everyone can be happy. The Stu believers can get Stu. The people who want random ghost faces can be happy with the random cult members. But it's like, don't you want to see a major payoff for 5 and 6 where we find out that Richie and Amber were Stu's cult members and so were Jason and Greg, and somehow link these 3 movies together? But those are just my thoughts. That's how I feel. I think Stumacher should come back. It's the only thing that's going to make sense at this point for Scream 7 because I do think they were setting it up in 5 and 6. The clues are there if you just pay attention. So definitely check out my past videos if you're not familiar with all of the Stu clues that I think have been left for us in the past 2 movies. But that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning into another video. Please comment down below and let me know your thoughts. Are you a Stu believer? Do you want to see Stu in Scream 7? Subscribe to the channel if you want to stay up to date on everything Scream 7. As we start to get some more news, you can expect it to be posted here on the channel. Turn on notifications so that you don't miss out. Don't forget to give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time.